Blood dripping from her lip, 7 months pregnant and running for her life, Maya had a terrible choice. Surrender to the husband who just sold her and her unborn baby to traffickers, or trust a stranger whose porch light glowed like a lighthouse in the storm. Either way, she was out of time. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more emotional stories. Get back here, you ungrateful witch. Richard's voice boomed through the dark alley as Maya ran, one hand clutching her swollen belly, the other gripping a small bag of belongings. Rain lashed against her face, mixing with tears and blood from her split lip. She's heading toward Maple Street, another man shouted. The boss wants her alive. The baby's worth 50 grand to the right buyer. Maya's lungs burned as she pushed herself forward, her 7-month pregnant body screaming in protest. Just hours ago she had overheard her husband Richard finalizing the sale, her sale, to pay off his gambling debts. Not just her but their unborn child too, to be separated and sold after birth. "You're my property," Richard had snarled when he caught her packing. His fist connected with her face, sending her sprawling. "That baby is my ticket out of debt. You think I married you for love? Foreign brides are just good business." Maya had waited until he turned away, then smashed a lamp against his head and fled into the stormy night. Now, soaked and disoriented, she stumbled through unfamiliar streets. The men's voices grew closer. Her time was running out. Through the rain, she spotted a small house with a medical clinic sign and a car parked outside. A doctor might help her, or might call the police. Either way, she had no choice. Gathering her last strength, Maya pounded desperately on the door. Footsteps approached from inside. The door opened to reveal a man with kind eyes and graying temples. "Please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "They're selling me and my baby." Then darkness claimed her as she collapsed into the stranger's arms. Daniel Foster carried the unconscious pregnant woman inside and laid her on his couch. His medical training kicked in as he checked her vital signs and examined her injuries. The cut on her lip was still bleeding, and bruises were forming on her face and arms. She was severely dehydrated and exhausted. The baby, however, seemed to be in distress. From outside, he heard men's voices calling to each other. Daniel quickly turned off the living room lights and peered through the curtains. 2 men with flashlights were moving down the street, checking between houses. "She couldn't have gone far," one said. "The boss wants her tonight." Daniel's jaw tightened. Whatever was happening, this woman was clearly in danger. He checked to make sure his daughter Lily was still asleep in her room, then returned to the pregnant woman just as her eyes fluttered open. She immediately tried to sit up, panic written across her face. "It's okay," Daniel said gently, keeping his voice low. "I'm a doctor. You're safe here." Her eyes, deep brown and filled with terror, darted around the room. "They're coming for me," she whispered. "My husband sold me to them." "What do you mean he sold you?" The woman, who introduced herself as Maya, told him a horrifying story. Her husband had gambling debts. To pay them off, he had arranged to sell Maya to his loan shark. The man planned to keep her until she delivered the baby, then sell both of them separately. Tonight, when they came to collect her, she had managed to escape. "I didn't know where to go," she said, her hands protectively covering her belly. "I saw your medical clinic sign in your car's window. I hoped a doctor would help me." Daniel's mind raced. This went beyond providing medical care. This woman needed serious protection. But something in her desperate eyes reminded him of his late wife's final days, when she had begged him to promise he would always help those who couldn't help themselves. "You can stay here tonight," he said firmly. "Tomorrow we'll figure out what to do next." As Maya finally drifted into exhausted sleep, Daniel made a silent vow. He would not let anyone hurt this woman or her unborn child. Little did he know this decision would change his life forever. The next morning, Daniel called the clinic to take a rare day off. He made breakfast while Lily, wide-eyed and curious, asked questions about their guest. "Is she going to live with us now, Dad?" Lily asked, watching Maya sleep on the couch. "Just for a little while until she feels better," Daniel explained. When Maya woke, her fear had somewhat subsided, replaced by caution and confusion. "Why are you helping me?" she asked as Daniel checked her blood pressure. "You don't even know me." Daniel thought about it. "Because it's the right thing to do," he answered simply. Over the next few days, Maya slowly shared more of her story. She had come to America from the Philippines 3 years ago after marrying Richard, an American businessman she met online. At first, everything seemed perfect. Then Richard lost his job and started gambling. The loving man she thought she had married disappeared, replaced by someone cruel and desperate. When I got pregnant, I thought things would change, Maya said quietly. But he saw the baby as another thing to sell. Daniel contacted an old friend from medical school who now worked with victims of human trafficking. She promised to help Maya get legal protection and a safe place to stay, but it would take time. You can stay here until then, Daniel told Maya. You and your baby will be safe. As days turned into weeks, Maya became part of their small household. She cooked Filipino dishes that filled the house with unfamiliar but delicious aromas. She helped Lily with her homework and told her stories about growing up in a small village by the sea. Daniel found himself looking forward to coming home from the clinic. The house, which had felt so empty since his wife died, now felt alive again. But he also noticed something concerning: Maya's growing anxiety as her due date approached. "He's going to find me," she whispered one night after Lily had gone to bed. "Richard always said nothing could hide from him forever." "He won't hurt you," Daniel promised. "Not while I'm here." But even as he spoke the words, a car drove slowly past his house for the third time that week. The first threat came in the form of a text message to Daniel's phone from an unknown number. "I know you have what belongs to me." Daniel didn't tell Maya. Instead, he installed security cameras and called his friend at the trafficking support center. They accelerated the process to get Maya into the system for protection. Then one evening, Daniel returned home to find his house door slightly open. Inside, Lily sat at the kitchen table, unusually quiet. "Where's Maya?" he asked, his heart racing. "A man came," Lily said, her voice small. "He said he was Maya's husband and needed to talk to her." They went outside. Daniel rushed out, panic rising in his throat. He found Maya in the backyard, her face pale, hands trembling. "He was here," she whispered. "Richard found me." "Did he hurt you?" Daniel asked, already checking her for injuries. "No. He just wanted to scare me." Maya's voice hardened. "He said the baby is his property. That he's already been paid for." That night, after making sure all doors and windows were locked, Daniel called the police. They took statements but didn't seem overly concerned. Without evidence of physical harm, there wasn't much they could do except file a report. Later, as Daniel checked on Maya before going to bed, he found her packing her few belongings. "What are you doing?" he asked. "I have to leave," she said, not meeting his eyes. "Richard threatened to hurt Lily if I stayed. I can't put your family in danger because of my problems." Daniel sat beside her on the bed. "Maya, you and your baby are part of this family now. We face this together." For the first time since she arrived, Maya broke down completely, sobbing against Daniel's shoulder. He held her, promising that no one would separate her from her child. What he didn't tell her was that he had already decided to fight for her, not just out of duty or compassion but because somewhere along the way he had begun to love her. The next morning, Daniel contacted everyone he knew who might help. Old college friends who became lawyers, a cousin who worked in law enforcement, even a patient who had mentioned being a former FBI agent. Together they formed a plan. Maya would appear to leave Daniel's house, making Richard believe she was vulnerable. In reality, she would be staying at a safe house with round-the-clock protection. Meanwhile, they would gather evidence against Richard and his connections to the trafficking ring. "It's too dangerous," Maya protested when Daniel explained the plan. "These are dangerous people." "More dangerous than separating a mother from her child?" Daniel asked. "Some risks are worth taking." The night before Maya was to leave for the safe house, she sat with Daniel on the porch swing. Lily had gone to bed, and the neighborhood was quiet under a sky full of stars. "If anything happens to me," Maya said suddenly, "promise me you'll look after my baby." Daniel turned to her. "Nothing will happen to you. But yes, I promise." She smiled then, a rare full smile that transformed her face. "You're a good man, Daniel Foster. I'm just trying to do what's right." "No," Maya said, taking his hand. "You're doing much more than that. You're saving us." The next day, as they prepared to put their plan into action, Maya went into labor 2 weeks early. The contractions began suddenly and progressed rapidly. There was no time to get to the hospital. Daniel, who hadn't delivered a baby in years, found himself setting up an emergency delivery in his living room. "You can do this," he told Maya as Lily brought clean towels and warm water. "Just breathe and push when I tell you." Outside, rain began to fall again, just as it had the night Maya appeared at his door. The symbolism wasn't lost on Daniel. Another storm, another beginning. After an intense but mercifully quick labor, Maya gave birth to a healthy baby girl with a powerful set of lungs. As Daniel placed the newborn on Maya's chest, Their eyes met over the tiny, wailing life they had just brought into the world together. "She's perfect," Daniel whispered. "She's a miracle," Maya replied through tears. "My miracle." They named her Hope, a name that embodied everything Maya had found in Daniel's home. The plan to trap Richard had to be postponed. Instead, Daniel's allies used the baby's birth to their advantage, monitoring hospitals and birth registries where Richard might look for Maya. When he finally made his move 3 days later, attempting to file a birth certificate claiming paternity, the authorities were waiting. Richard was arrested, along with the loan shark and 2 others involved in the trafficking ring. Evidence found on Richard's phone revealed a network much larger than they had imagined. In exchange for a reduced sentence, Richard provided information that led to dozens more arrests. Maya and baby Hope remained at Daniel's house, now truly safe for the first time. 6 months later, Maya sat in a courtroom watching as Richard was sentenced to 15 years in prison. The judge's words rang out clearly: "The court finds the defendant guilty of human trafficking, extortion, and conspiracy to commit kidnapping." Outside the courthouse, Daniel waited with Lily and baby Hope. When Maya emerged, her face shone with relief and something else: freedom. "It's over," she said, taking Hope from Daniel's arms. "He can't hurt us anymore." That evening they celebrated with a simple dinner at home. As Lily played with Hope on a blanket in the living room, Daniel took Maya's hand across the table. "What happens now?" he asked. Maya looked at their intertwined fingers. "I got a job offer at the community center. They need someone to help other women from immigrant communities. And they have daycare for Hope." "That's wonderful," Daniel said, though his heart sank at what it might mean. "So you'll be looking for your own place?" Maya met his eyes. "Actually, I was hoping we could talk about that. These past months being here with you and Lily, it's felt like home." Daniel finished for her. "Yes," she whispered. "Home." Daniel took a deep breath. "When I lost my wife, I thought that part of my life was over. I never expected to find love again, especially not like this." Maya's eyes widened. "Love? If it's too soon," Daniel began, but Maya cut him off. "It's not too soon. It's just right." From the living room came the sound of Hope's laughter as Lily tickled her tummy. The sound filled the house like sunshine after rain. 2 years later, on a clear spring day, Daniel and Maya were married in a simple ceremony in their backyard. Lily, now 12, stood as Maya's maid of honor, while Hope, wearing a tiny flower crown, toddled down a makeshift aisle scattering rose petals. As they exchanged vows, Daniel thought about the rainy night that had brought Maya to his door. How sometimes the greatest gifts come from the darkest moments. How families aren't always born. Sometimes they're built, one act of kindness at a time. And as Maya said, "I do," her eyes shining with tears and love, Daniel knew they had both found the miracle they never knew they needed. Hope babbled happily from her grandmother's lap, reaching toward her parents with tiny hands. She would grow up never knowing the fear her mother had experienced, never feeling unwanted or unsafe. Instead, she would know only love, the kind that protects, that risks everything, that creates something beautiful from broken pieces. In that moment, surrounded by the family they had built together, Daniel and Maya silently renewed the promise they had made that first night: to always help those who couldn't help themselves, to be a safe harbor in life's storms, and to remember that sometimes, the most unexpected journeys lead to exactly where we're meant to be.